Welcome to another episode of Out from the Horrorbox. I'm your grinning host, Dom, and in today's new episode, we take a look at the 2024 psychological supernatural horror film about a pop star who begins to experience a series of increasingly disturbing events just as she is about to embark on a tour. It's written and directed by Parker Finn, and the sequel to 2022's film, so this is Smile 2. To kind of recap, Smile tells the story of a therapist who witnesses the bizarre suicide of a patient, then becomes overwhelmed with increasingly disturbing and daunting visions that led her to believe she is experiencing something supernatural. Smile itself is a sequel to Finn's short film, Laura Hasn't Slept, which saw a desperate woman seeking the help of her therapist to rid herself of a recurring nightmare. So let's journey along and determine what's reality and what's just a hallucination in Smile 2. Smile writer and director Parker Finn intentionally left certain plot points from the first film and plot lines ambiguous, with unresolved elements, in order to leave space for future exploration and a potential sequel. While he acknowledged that a follow-up could delve into the entity's backstory, he expressed a desire to maintain its mysterious nature. Finn explained that the sequel would diverge from the first film in meaningful ways, stating, "There's still a lot of interesting stuff to explore in the world of Smile. I want to make sure there's a new, exciting, fresh way into it that the audience isn't anticipating." In March 2023, after the commercial success of Smile, Finn signed a first-look deal with Paramount Pictures to develop more horror projects. The following month, at CinemaCon 2023, Paramount confirmed that a sequel to Smile had been greenlit and was already in pre-production, with Finn returning as both writer and director. By October 2024, Finn offered more insights into the sequel, describing it as an exploration of the downfall of a pop star who's unable to overcome the things that have been put upon her. He also teased a meta, self-aware moment in the film, saying, "What I love about the ending is the way it creates a feeling of the audience in the theater staring through the screen at the characters on screen. I want to raise the questions, did we do this to Skye by coming back for Smile 2? Have we, the audience, caused her suffering? It's intriguing to explore the idea of, are we complicit in this?" In December 2023, Naomi Scott was cast in the leading role, drawing inspiration from pop icons like Lady Gaga in the early 2010s and Britney Spears. The cast grew in early 2024 with the addition of Lucas Gage, Rosemary DeWitt, Dylan Gilula, Raul Castillo, and Miles Gutierrez Riley. Kyle Gallner also returned to reprise his role as Joel from the first film. In a surprising and meta twist, it was revealed in September 2024 that Drew Barrymore would appear as herself in the film. Additionally, Ray Nicholson's casting was deliberate homage to his father, Jack Nicholson's iconic portrayal of Jack Torrance in The Shining, which you can see from posters and a lot of the media that they put out at the time to promote the film. Principal photography for the sequel took place between January and March 2024, across various locations in the Hudson Valley, New York, including Newburgh, Poughkeepsie, Wappingers Fall. I've never heard of that place before. Albany and New York City. Returning crew members included cinematographer Charlie Saroff, editor Elliot Greenberg, and composer Cristobal Tapia de Ver. The film's production budget was set at $28 million. So let's just jump straight into Smile 2, the plot.
Am I a future disaster? This way Hello?
Skye! What? No, 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 get away from me!
What? What is it?
Get away from me!
Louis?
Something really crazy is happening to me. I keep seeing this face everywhere.
You witnessed a death. Now it's latched onto you.
Stop smiling at me!
That's a pretty cool shirt you got. Want me to sign it?
Six days after Rose Cotter's death, the now cursed Joel, continued to be played by Kyle Gardner, attempts to pass the Smile entity on by killing one murderous criminal in front of another. During a shootout, he accidentally kills the witness, but drug dealer Louis Rigoli, played by Lucas Gage, inherits the curse as a bystander. When Joel tries to flee, he is run over and killed by a truck. Meanwhile, New York-based pop star Skye Riley, played by Naomi Scott, prepares for her comeback tour following a public struggle with substance abuse and a car crash that killed her actor boyfriend, Paul Hudson. Despite constant supervision from her mother/manager, Elizabeth, and their assistant, Joshua, Skye seeks out to buy Vicodin from Louis, her high school friend, after injuring her back in rehearsals. Elizabeth and Joshua are played by Rosemary DeWitt and Miles Gutierrez Riley, respectively. At his apartment, Skye witnesses Louis screaming and panicking before collapsing into an apparent seizure. He rises, smiling, and fatally smashes his face in with a barbell plate. Afraid of being found in a room full of drugs, Skye leaves without alerting anyone. Now cursed herself, Skye begins to experience deranged hallucinations of people smiling at her, causing her mental health to rapidly deteriorate. Needing support, she reconciles with her estranged friend Gemma. Gemma is played by Dylan Gilula. Skye receives a text from an unknown number, claiming to know she was at Lewis's apartment and that she is in danger. While speaking to a fundraiser hosted by music executive Darius, who is played by Raul Castillo, Skye hallucinates at the teleprompter stalling and goes on an impromptu tirade about how success has not improved her life. She sees a smiling Paul, who is played by Ray Nicholson, approaching from the audience and panics, accidentally injuring the event's elderly host. Skye meets Morris, the man who texted her, in a bar. He is played by Peter Jacobson. He has been tracking the entity ever since it killed his brother. He explains that the curse passes to anyone who witnesses a victim's death, theorizing that the entity is parasitic and could die without a host. He just suggests stopping Skye's heart and then resuscitating her to break the curse. But she refuses and leaves after being recognized by bargoers. Following a lengthy mental breakdown in her apartment, Skye is cornered by the entity, which takes the form of her backup dancers. Skye tries to escape but is violently thrown through the apartment and pinned down as a giant arm forces its way into her throat, causing her to black out. A flashback reveals that Skye caused Paul's death by intentionally crashing the car during a drug-induced argument. Later, Skye awakens at a retreat and argues with Elizabeth over the upcoming tour. Suddenly, Elizabeth smiles, smashing a mirror, and fatally stabs herself with a shard. Skye attempts to leave, but to her horror, realizes that it was she who stabbed Elizabeth. Skye escapes the retreat and reunites with Gemma, stealing a car to meet Morris. She receives a call from the real Gemma and realizes that the Gemma who's been with her all week is the entity. After regaining control of the car, Skye meets Morris at an abandoned pizza hut, where they plan to use the walk-in freezer to prevent brain damage when stopping her heart. Morris temporarily leaves, and the entity appears as Skye's former self from the car wreck. After a struggle, she fights it off and injects herself with a syringe meant to stop her heart. Unfazed, the entity mockingly affirms that Skye is not in control. Skye then finds herself on stage for a performance at Herald Square Garden. She sees Joshua, Darius, and a still alive Elizabeth watching from the audience, and realizes that the entire day has been an illusion. The entity appears as Skye's current self before tearing its stomach open to reveal its true form, a large, skinless creature with multiple smiling mouths nested within one another. Skye screams and falls into a trance before the entity rips Skye's mouth apart and crawls inside. To the crowd, it just appears that Skye has collapsed while choking. A possessed Skye stands up, smiling, and fatally stabs herself in the eye with her microphone in front of thousands of horrified spectators. Now let us move on to some trivia about Smile 2 and learn something about the behind the scenes, the production, and the actors. Ensuring the sequel was different from its predecessor meant giving the film a unique look. Parker Finn wanted to depict a glammy, shiny, very fun pop star's world, but also make it feel very cold, frigid, threatening, and almost alien. This meant avoiding the usual horror settings of cold, creepy basements and shadowy attics. Finn said he wanted to find fear, dread, and unease in an unexpected environment. And I think it worked here perfectly well, especially for what he was going for with this. You get that kind of glitz and glamour, but he said, it just feels kind of cold. Like she's not getting much out of this. Like she's having to go do drugs again. Her and her mom are not connecting. Like even her and her assistant, just even trying to get back with her friend. It kind of feels like there's a space there. I think it works really well for this kind of, especially when you're coming off that first one, which the first one's very dry and very classically creepy, where you get the at the end it's like an old haunted house where the entity comes out and they have to set it on fire, but that doesn't work because the entity just ends up getting moved on to someone else. But yeah, I think he does a really good job. Whoever was his art director did a great job at getting that point and understanding what needed to be done, because you really buy that Skye Riley's a true pop star in the vein of like a Lady Gaga or something. Or you could see someone like Naomi Scott be actually a performer nowadays, I'd say maybe a Sabrina Carpenter or a Chapel Roan or something. She plays it really well, and I think that also needed to be part of it too. Not just what they're wearing, what the set dressing is, and I think it works very well. The opening scene for Smile 2 was filmed in a one-shot sequence. Kyle Gallner performed his own stunts for the sequence. And honestly, I think it's a great way to open the film. And yeah, it just starts off, boom, you're just walking in. I think you get to see a hint of the entity with a person just kind of standing there and smiling as he gets into the house. And it's just done masterfully. I love when people try and do the one shot, and I think it works really well here, especially when it's just trying to be boom, here, let's get straight into the action, straight into everything, and you follow the characters as he's trying to take them out one by one. You know what I mean? And then the what's his name? Lucas Cage, I think, is the character who, yeah, he's a drug dealer and he ends up getting away. But and yeah, he even like tries to like get him as he's going outside, and then he gets hit by the car, and it's just a whole mess. And I love that it's just done one shot. Like it, if anyone's ever seen like Atonement has a great one shot, and it's just amazing. And I love when they attempt to do like the one shot, like Birdman. The whole movie is a one shot because sometimes that just looks so appealing to just get that, like, you're following that one character along the way, like kind of like The Raid or like Daredevil, where it's all done in like the hallway. And I love that it's you got to get that down. You got to get that choreographed down perfectly and understand like what you're doing, where things have to hit at which beat. And they did pretty good in this. I liked the way that they opened with a one shot like that. Skye's friend who dies by suicide is named Louis Frigoli. The Frigoli delusion is when someone believes that multiple people are actually the same person in disguise, which is shown in the first film as the Smile Entity's MO and fits Laura's description of it wearing people's faces like masks, which I did not know like that had a name, like that delusion. And that, yeah, and I like that's kind of crazy to think like you're going around and you think like, yeah, multiple people are the same person. Like it's kind of like gang stalking. If you don't know what gang stalking is, it's where people are in the delusion of that they're being followed by people constantly, and it's like a group of people that are coordinating together to like follow you and to. I don't know what the ultimate like delusion would be, like the end goal of why they're following you, but like it's the same thing like this. It's like what is the purpose of this one person who's going around wearing other people's faces like masks? Like what's the point? Is it just to frighten you, to scare you? I don't know. But that's such a creepy way to like just imagine like living your life like that, where like you're at work and you start thinking like, oh, that person. Oh, I don't think that person's actually that person. I think it's this person wearing their face. Or like that customer, that's that customer right there. Like that has to be them because there's no way that person would eat that. I don't know, you know what I mean? Like just a weird, whack. I mean, I'm gonna say wacky. I mean, it's just a delusion that people have, and that's kind of crazy. The scene where Skye is confronted with a disturbing vision of a trope of dancers all grinning under the influence of the evil Smile Entity pursuing her throughout her home is director Parker Finn's favorite of the film. The scene took 2 days to film, with all the moves in the scene done with practical effects from the extras, who were all real-life professional dancers. And yeah, honestly, that scene is done really well. It's showcased in the trailer, which I like that they decided to do it all practical and not try and like do anything too crazy with it. And like the fact that they got like all these actors who know how to dance, or these extras, and it works so well because you just get the sense of like this growing force that's coming at her, of like everywhere she's going, like she turns and there's more people and there's more, and it's like, what is going on? Who are these people? Why are they here? And they're just like smiling the whole time, and it's crazy. Like honestly, go if you haven't, I mean, you gotta see this movie. If you're listening to this, you gotta, obviously you've seen it. It's just this great like sequence of like getting all these people together, and it's so hard sometimes. Like for those of you who haven't made a film or a short film or anything, even just to choreograph like a short film, that you have to run through things and run through like the way people are gonna stand, the way people are gonna move, the way people are gonna like look at here and there. And obviously it's called blocking, and it can be tough because there was one time where I was going through a short film that I was shooting for actors. Like the actors had written their own script, and they were trying. It was an acting class, and they needed somebody to direct them. But they already had everything pretty much done themselves. They just needed like someone to come in and film, which is what me and my friend did. We came in. I kind of took their early script because they wrote it more of like a theater script with a lot of like theater like language. So essentially adapted it so it was more of a shooting script, and we went from there. But we took days to think out all the camera movement, all the actors' movements, everything, and we were able to get it done in I'd say about maybe just short of 24 hours. We started pretty early, and then we went into the night, but we got it all done in one day, and I'm really proud that we did because we took the time to actually sit there and plan this out because it worked really well. We knew what we were gonna do from the beginning to from the top of the day all the way through, and where everything was gonna be, what shots we needed, and then we were able to improvise from there. So I think that's what helps too, and like you can tell, like with these scenes, like it takes a lot of time and effort to put that all together, and it's like with the one shot at the beginning. Like I'm glad that he like decided to like give us something more than just he's like you got to move that camera sometimes because sometimes that just helps with that production value, and it makes it more interesting. The shocking finale was precisely why Naomi Scott was willing to follow director Parker Finn wherever he wanted to go. Quote, I love how uncompromising Parker is on his vision. I love any artist who's just like, she's never going to defeat the smile, Scott said. It's just a very interesting look at how trauma manifests, along with the fear of not being believed or misunderstood, and the importance of surrounding ourselves with people that we can be vulnerable with. Because I think isolation is just one of the most potent words that comes up when I think of Skye. And that's one of the main themes I feel like of the movie. She's always isolated, even in her apartment. She doesn't really look like she belongs. And there's always just that distance in terms of her and everyone else in the movie. And yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I think that like this entity really does represent like trauma, and it also does represent that isolation of like look at like her almost the whole movie is a delusion caused by this thing that's very parasitic, the guy who's been tracking it, I forgot his name. He says that it's a parasite, and yeah, and this thing causes you to very much isolate yourself. Like you think you either killed people or people are dying around you, and especially the people that you trying to reach out to the most, like her mom, the assistant, her friends, and even like she brings her what she thinks is her friend, her best friend back from like this estrangement, and it turns out that it was all just in her head due to this thing. And yeah, and like it's able to take advantage of her, and like that's what isolation also does to you, is it causes you to seek out as much affirming and help as you can, and even if it's to your detriment, it's to your harm. Look what happens in the end. She ends up on stage and kills herself in front of everybody because that thing just drives her to do that. And yeah, but let's move on to the kill counter. Kill counter. We've arrived at the kill counter. This is the part of the podcast where we go through the kills and deaths in the film. And Smile 2 has 7 deaths, and let's just get right into them. So first off, we got Alexei, who's one of the Russian drug dealers in the beginning of the film. He's stabbed to death by Joel with a screwdriver. And then we've got Yev, yet another drug dealer. And he bleeds out after accidentally being shot in the stomach and neck by Joel with a pistol. And then we have Detective Joel himself. He has his lower half decimated after accidentally being run over by an unknown person in the truck. He goes out to try and stop Lewis from running away. And then the unknown driver, too, dies after crashing into a telephone pole. But after accidentally running over Joel. Then we get to see Louis Frigoli, who is a friend of Skye and dealing her drugs. He starts to become paranoid about like seeing these things, like these weird visions, and being and isolating himself to the point where she's worried about him, and then he ends up committing suicide by smashing a weight plate 3 times into his skull and face, while under control of that like smile entity, and that passes on to Skye. And then in a flashback, we see Paul Hudson, who was Skye Riley's boyfriend, get brutally mutilated in a car crash, which Skye caused on purpose in a fit of rage while intoxicated. And then last, but certainly not the least, we get Skye Riley herself, who once she figures out that everything that has been going on to her during the day, with her mom dying, her trying to escape the facility where she was being held. It was like a place to to calm her mind, and then stealing a car and getting Gemma, and then getting to some random Pizza Hut, and all that has been just a whole delusion caused by the smile entity, and she finds herself on stage in front of a live audience, and in being under control of this entity, the smile entity. She stabs herself in the eye with a microphone and commits suicide. And it's pretty crazy, pretty like gruesome and amazing, and like with like the thing too. Also, like we could just see it again, the monster, and it like attacks her. But obviously, that's all just like part of the delusion, and now it's being broadcast out to everybody who's in the audience and who is watching it, I guess. Probably like a pay-per-view or something, which is kind of crazy. Like, just imagine like somebody commits suicide like that, and then like a pop star, and then like now all these. That's why I'm like wondering. We'll get into my final thoughts, but like this movie, like it has some pretty good like deaths and kills, and like it's pretty interesting how they do it, especially like when it gets into like the delusional stuff. Because obviously I'm not counting anything that didn't really happen, like with the mom where she like cuts her through. I think she cuts her throat, but then Skye, she sees that like she did it, but then obviously none of that happened. And it's just pretty gory. And I can't wait to see like if he's gonna continue the series, and if he does, what he does next. But let's just move on to my final thoughts. So I saw Smile 2 as soon as it came out because I was like, I liked Smile. The first Smile I thought was really good. I thought it was really well done, especially like from the trailer, kind of looked kind of stupid, and I really didn't want to watch it. Right, it took me like a while to watch it, but it wasn't until I just was spoiled on like the entity, the way it looks at the very end of the first film. I was like, whoa, I gotta see what this movie's about. So I went back, watched it all, and decided, what, this is a pretty good movie. If you haven't checked out the review I did for the first film, I did that, I believe it was early last year. No, later, 2 years away. Now 2023. Wow, that's crazy. But yeah, if you haven't seen that one, go back and watch that one. You don't really okay. So what the thing about Smile 2 is you don't really have to watch the first one to understand what's going on. This they pretty much explain kind of what the rules of like the entity are in this one. There's not really anything too crazy. It's just that if you see someone commit suicide in front of you that's dealing with it, then it passes on to you. Basically, a trauma has to happen in front of you with the entity like that in order for it to pass on to you, and it wants to pass on to more people and wants to kill more people. It's kind of like it follows, but if it didn't have to have sex with you to pass on. And that one, I know a lot of people were that impressed with the first one. Like it was a little bit boring, and yeah, it's a little bit slower than this one. But I will say, I think this one really does knock it out of the park. It was one of my top films from last year because it's done so well. Naomi Scott is amazing, like always, and everything she does. I love it. I love Naomi Scott. She was in Lemonade Mouth, and she was in Aladdin. She was in the reboot of Charlie's Angels. She was the Pink Ranger and reboot of Power Rangers. She's been in a lot of things, and I'm glad she did this because she does know how to sing. She's a pretty good singer, and I think having someone who actually can sing be a part of the main character who's a singer, I think works really well. And I think she does an amazing job. I think all the smaller parts too, I think they work really well together. I think Parker Finn knocked it out of the park with this one. I think he should consider doing something a little bit different for his next film. Or, I mean, even sticking to Smile 3. I want to see what else he can do. Because I feel like he'd be able to do something pretty good. And I think, just overall, this film, it was put together really well. It's directed really well. Like he said, like, if he was going to do another one, it has to have, like, a really good story. Something that, has to be a little bit, it has to be different from what we've seen before. And I think this is what works really well. I think what we could do with, like, the next movie he does, if he does a sequel to this, there's like no bounds. I feel like with it, like you could do something like post-apocalyptic, where maybe like it decimated humanity because like they were able to see this on TV or something, or maybe just the people in there committed suicide or something. Like it could be something crazy like that, where maybe it spreads out further, and like maybe there's multiple people that are having to deal with it, not knowing what could come up, or like not knowing if they should be able to trust the people around them. I don't know. There's so many possibilities you could go with a sequel to this, and just like I said, like it was done really well, and I'm glad that like he continued it, and because I was very skeptical at first when I saw that there was gonna be a sequel, because I was like, where do you go from here? Like, how do you expand on this? And then, I mean, it just goes to show you that like horror's been on a pretty good roll of like giving you something different, giving you something out there, giving you something that you didn't expect from it. So, yeah, honestly, I think I give this 4 stars, maybe, probably, because I think I gave the first one, 3 stars. But this one was just so good, like put together so well. Yeah, if you like this, I think you probably like It Follows if you haven't seen It Follows already. You'd probably like that one. But yeah, like I really want to see what Parker Finn does. I want Naomi Scott to be in more things. I love her. She's amazing. And there's not really much more I could say about this film other than I really want to own them both on physical media. I've been trying to expand that as much as I can. But yeah, we need to support these artists as much as we can, because if we don't go and see their films, then they don't get to make more films. They don't get to make follow-up films. But I think this one did pretty well. And it's, like I said, horror's been on a roll where I think it's going to be more of this elevated genre, like partly, where it'll be like these kind of like, oh, like you'll get things like Nosferatu, The Substance, Longlegs, this, and then you'll get something more ridiculous like the Winnie the Pooh movies. But yeah, this is a great film. This is a really good one. Have you ever wanted to be a pop star? Could you tell what's real from what isn't? Do you wish Naomi Scott would have survived? I know I do. She's an amazing actress, like I said. We want to thank you all for listening in. If you like what you hear, please subscribe to get every new episode downloaded. Do you have any personal or fictional, paranormal, supernatural, or unexplainable stories? We would love to read them on the podcast. Please send your stories, recommendations, or anything else to horrorboxpodcast@gmail.com. If you want to show more support, you can follow our socials on Instagram, Threads, TikTok, or check out our YouTube channel at Horrorbox Podcast on all sites. Also, you can buy me a coffee at coffee.com/horrorboxpodcast. It really helps out. Until next time, maybe try and stop someone from killing themselves in front of you. This is Dom, signing off from the Horrorbox.
Huh?
Hey, it's me. I got your voicemail. Sorry it's taking me a few days to get back to you. But honestly, I wasn't even, sure if I was gonna call you back.
Did you spend the night at my place?
What? I haven't been to your place in, a year. Since you said I was a stupid, opportunistic cunt, remember? Also, what's up with these weird-ass fucking text messages you've been sending me? Hello?
Gemma hates you, Skye.
No, please, Gemma, no. Please, Gemma, no. Not you, please. No! Fuck you! Fuck you! Fuck you! Let me the fuck out! Let me go!
No one cares about you.
No, you're not driving. You're not driving this time. You're in my head. 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 You're not in control. I am.